The one that was more like internal that really sat with me is I remember I had a show on Netflix with Ronnie Cheng, our good friend. It was called Ronnie Cheng Takes Chinatown, and it was like slated for like 13 episodes on Netflix. And they ended up, the pilot ended up coming out, but they didn't want the show. You know what I mean? And I think they probably really didn't want me. I mean, I want to say for sure, but like I just felt like that was and this was at the time where everybody was doing the Crazy Rich Asians, and there's only so many spots for different Asians in quote unquote what we call like the mainstream, and I felt like I pretty much was rejected from that.
I don't think we expect to blow up and reach this Hollywood fame that some of our friends have, or some of our acquaintances that we've seen blow up, like even Aquafina or our good friend Ronnie Chang. Like those guys are all more commercially mainstream than us, and that's okay. But I can't say that even there's other YouTubers that were asking us for help back 10 years ago, then blew up way bigger than us, And I think sometimes at first it's very normal and very human to be like, dang man, what about us?
What's going on, guys? My name is Richie Lee, and welcome to Blessed Boulders, the home of raw and uplifting stories of the human experience. Today we got some very, very, very special guests in the house. They are a Chinese-American duo, successful YouTubers, comedians, and rappers who was born and raised in Kent, Washington. Shout out Kent, Washington. They gained traction in the early 2010s, especially due to their YouTube videos regarding NBA player Jeremy Lin, Asian cuisine, and the 626 area of LA. They have produced content regarding topics such as sneakers, men's fashion, hip-hop videos, Asian stereotypes, Asian masculinity, and responding to Asian discrimination. Their work has been featured in the Huffington Post, Los Angeles Times, NBC News, Wall Street Journal, and CNN. They also have 13 episodes on the TV series of AN Network FYI channel titled Broke Bites. What the Fung? However, most of their content consisted of intellectual, honest conversations about Asian American subject matter. Without further ado, I give you the Fung brothers, Andrew and David Fung.
Thank you for having us.
What up?
It's an honor to be here, man. We've known you for multiple decades of our lives, and we've seen each other grow in different ways, and now we're on your podcast.
Yeah, thanks for blessing us with you guys' presence, man.
This is a dope studio too.
You got the
got the Bun Mi Cafe Suda right underneath.
The bun mis down here are fire. 10 out of 10.
Shout out to Hello M Coffee and Bun Mi downstairs.
Some of the best bun mis I've had.
The salmon
actually.
bun mi.
Woo.
I never even had that before. That's Seattle only.
Yep, Seattle only, salmon. Right when I tried to get out, the game pulled me back in, bro. It didn't want me to go. It's an entertainment game. But I think there's a big mission here though, right? It's deeper than all this stuff. The next generation, they can see you guys, they see Richie. I don't know if they'll see me because I don't know if the podcast is going to be popular or not. Hopefully it will. And then they're like, oh, these guys are doing it. And they look like me, and society is not really giving me these opportunities. So these guys can do it. Maybe I can do it, mom and dad. And then, they'll build on just whatever the next mission they got going. And it's, our kids maybe, right? So it's a beautiful journey we all had. And so yeah, man, it's a big mission we got here. That's why we're doing it.
For sure. And I think the dopest thing, at least to me, I'm sure everybody has their own reasons and their own rank of priority, is like the ability to make things better for the next generation, but still have a successful career for yourself and make money is really cool. It's really cool because a lot of times you're like leaving your impact in an indirect way. Like let's say, for example, I work in microchips. That's a dope field and it is really impactful globally, right? Because microchips are super important, but you won't feel it as direct as somebody coming up to you and saying, yo, your podcast on XYZ changed my perspective and then the course of my actions in life from that point forward. It's more of a tangible impact.
Yeah, that's dope. So we talked about Richie Lee a lot. For those that don't know, Richie Lee is my younger brother. And so you guys were a team back then, and you guys are still doing a lot of content together and like supporting each other's businesses. So how did you guys all meet with Richie?
Well, me and Richie met in 3rd grade, but just to fast forward, being good friends and just having common interests, and got to give credit to David. David is the older brother in this triangle, let's say, of us three. Not that we was the only group around, but like when we did songs together, or David was doing songs first with his friends. So it was just like, it kind of just flowed. And I think that me and Richie and our interests and our kind of talents it did align with what David was doing. So it was kind of easy to kind of team up and do things together, you know, or it made sense, I would say. I wouldn't say it was always frictionless, let's be honest, but it made sense.
And so you and Richie were doing videos, like music videos,
they were like
and
rapping.
rapping.
We were all breakdancing.
And you were breakdancing.
Yeah, we were all breakdancing together, doing talent shows, rapping. Like, we had the talent show, I want to say, like, me and Richie rapped, and then we broke danced, and then Richie DJ'd, and then it was just all like just the
You were pretty, like, you're just missing graffiti.
Yeah, like literally, what were we not doing in that? But that was inspired by all the reps we're getting as a kind of a, I guess it was the triplet, but it was plus other people. There were some other people.
Yeah, and they say basketball is like the fifth element of hip hop too. And
So-
you guys were hooping, trying to do and one moves at the recess too. So it was crazy.
Yeah, so I think me and Richie got a lot of reps together. Also, we were just goofing off in class. Like, I don't know. I remember this one time, like, people thought that me and Richie were high back in like 5th grade just because we were acting goofy, but we were not. We were just acting like out there, and we were just like having fun and joking. And then like the guy's like, "Hey, you guys doing drugs?" We're like,
you guys, because I think a lot of kids at that time, they're consuming kid content, right? But we had, shout out to our older family friend, we call him our cousin John. He would like show us in living color in Mad TV, right? But typically that was for an older audience to consume, but you're consuming and ingesting that material at a more developmental stage. So I think some of that goofiness from the Wayans brothers and everybody, it seeped in, saturated extra.
Dumb and Dumber, I've seen that movie like 50 times. But I guess to transition from that, it was like In Living Color was such racial comedy, and that kind of even that Don't Be a Menace, drinking anything the Wayans brothers were doing, it was kind of racial.
Jim Carrey was on that too.
Yeah, Jim Carrey, and then there was I think early Dave Chappelle were watching Def Comedy Jam, so that kind of helped us together kind of like do racial content or start to think about and be like, okay, we're Asian in this context, but we like all these things that are not necessarily Asian, and it's like where do we fit in all this? And then from that, and also our own life experiences of playing basketball, doing all these other, you know, David's reselling sneakers early on. It's just, you're kind of learning your place, or I guess how you're perceived, and the things that are different from your culture and everyone else's culture. So then that just gets you flowing and thinking about kind of race.
But I think it's the key is like, even though as we were doing all these things that, you know how it was growing up, like Asians aren't supposed to do those things or be 10 out of 10 into those things, we would still go back to our own individual communities and be with have a more stereotypical upbringing too. Because I think sometimes you hear stories of people who's like, oh man, I left the Asian world behind and I went 10 out of 10 into the B-boy or the hip hop world. We were always like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
When you guys made the decision to move to LA and, you know, go all in with this entertainment career, I'm sure it wasn't easy. Like, I remember when Richie, he told us, you guys went first, and then Richie was telling us that he was gonna move with you guys, and he was gonna sell his car to pay for his trip down there. My mom like blew a gasket. She's like, "No, my baby, like go, you know, you just graduated from college, go get a normal job." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna go for my dream." And it was really hard for him to make that decision. It's almost like, you know, sometimes to get to the reward, you have to like have a lot of sacrifices. No, you know, you have to earn your stripes, right? How about for you guys when you guys were making that decision? How was it to do that, to move to LA,
I think there's
leave everything?
2 things is that we were kind of doing it together, which I think helped.
You and
my
your brother.
parents,
You and your brother,
me and David together. So it's like, okay, the bros are together, the family's together. But my parents, for example, really didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to be like a phase. You go there for a few years, okay, you just graduate, come back and get a regular job, you know, blah, blah, blah. I will say they didn't hate and try to stop us per se, but they really did not know, and they doubted it a lot.
I would say they almost saw it, looking back on it now, and this is the first time I had this insight. I think they thought about it like if we said we're gonna move down to LA and become pro dancers. But I don't think they understood that when you are a YouTuber, there's a lot more avenues you can get into because you're actually like making content instead of just trying to be part of ABDC and like, you know, because it is true that the dance world ended up having a shorter lifespans, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of dancers are doing other stuff now.
Also, they thinking like, my parents sometimes think so traditional, like when they think entertainer, they don't know, Asian parents don't know what that means. They think you're gonna go flip on your head and you're like an old school, like 1700s, like dynastic court jester or something. And it's like, wait, what are you guys doing? And then we're like, no, we're making content. And they're like, content? What does that mean to me, you know? But now, also, you know what, and this is a kind of a funny thing that when you talk to a lot of like Asian, I guess, entertainers, is like once you get written up about in like the Asian paper and you get validated kind of by your own community, then it helps your parents kind of see, okay, they're doing something okay now.
Now you guys just talking about that, it reminds, because the reason why we're talking about Richie so much, because Richie's here, he's sitting in the corner, he brought you guys here. And I remember Richie said the moment like my mom understood everything was when he was on the Vietnamese, some kind of community channel it was like a national channel, and he was a guest on it. And then she saw him and she was so proud. Yeah. She told all her church friends, shout out to moms right there, the reason why Blessed Boulders is here. And so that was where Richie's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I got mom's like approval now. I'm good. Yeah. How about you guys? Was there when was that moment where you're like, yeah, I made it? Like, is there ever a moment where you're like, yo, we made it, bro? Like we're like there. Is there ever a moment or?
There's moments that are for sure like the one where it's like, okay, my parents are with it because I've gotten enough in community or in tribe approval. Yeah. But there hasn't been like a commercial moment. I would say maybe when we had the TV show or did a national commercial. Okay. I don't know if it was national. I think it was SoCal only for Toyota.
Oh, okay.
I would say the first time I got the verified Instagram check mark, this is when nobody had verified. Okay. It was like impossible to get it. You couldn't even pay anybody to get it.
Hey, those DMs go to the top.
Yeah. I would say that was like, I was like, hey, I got it.
Even to this day, some people are like, oh, you're verified. I have a girlfriend. But they're like, oh, you're verified? I'm like, I've been verified for like 8 years.
Okay. No, I'm just laughing at you because you said your DMs go right to the top. So you mean when you slide into some chick's DM,
business DM,
the business DM, then it goes, it just automatically goes to the top.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. I don't have a blue check. I don't know how that works.
It's supposed to. Anyways, you have priority. It doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is like, I think that, you know, there was never one moment that we like. I don't think we ever sat back and was like, yo, David, this is it. But there was definitely like, now as an older person, I live in New York, and like we're able to look back at our lives, and I don't want to use this cliche word, but like show more gratitude to where we're at. And me and Richie, we all have like messages sometimes. We'll be like, yo, you know, it's still good that we're still doing it. We're still relevant. We're still making money. You know, we're not as hot as we used to be. You know, there's not like the meet and greet lines aren't like 200 people anymore, but we're like settled in and we're good with ourselves and we're in a good flow, you know, and that is what I'm very grateful for. Because to be honest, after 12 years, a lot of people dropped out of this game.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people had mental, you know, or emotional breakdowns, which, you know, we were able to kind of weather those and just keep going.
I think it's just like, at least for us, I can't speak on other artists because like I said, everybody individually has different motivations and they rank different priorities differently. But like, I would say for us, it was just always about the impact. And as long as I'm making impact, I feel that I made it every day. And I feel like anytime I don't make an impact, then I'm not doing what I'm meant to do. So there's never really a moment or a threshold that I feel like we cross that critical mass into like different
I don't think we expect to blow up and reach this Hollywood fame that some of our friends have, or some of our acquaintances that we've seen blow up, like even Aquafina or our good friend Ronnie Chang. Like those guys are all more commercially mainstream than us, and that's okay. But I can't say that even there's other YouTubers that were asking us for help back 10 years ago and then blew up way bigger than us, you know? And I think sometimes at first it's very normal and very human to be like, dang, man, like what about us? Like when's our time? But I think that we always say like we have to take pride in what we do, in what we're sharing with people and the conversations we're having and the impact that we're making. We have to be proud of that, because if it's dollar per dollar and follower for follower, we're behind what we should be. But we're not behind in that we get to say what we want to say and still have a career off of it. So that's beautiful, right?
Yeah, great points there. Great points. And Yeah, I know I asked you guys a loaded question, like, you know, when did you feel like you made it? And so for me, my personal journey, you know, I always say I'm making it. I'm making it. It's sometimes like the journey of progress is like more rewarding than the reward, you know, of just whatever that goal was, right? And once you get, like, you hear people that win the Super Bowl, they're like, dude, I won the Super Bowl, and then like next couple of days I was like so sad. I didn't know what else to do because like they were like, I worked all my years to get to the Super Bowl trophy, and then they're like, I made it, but then like now what? You know, so it's almost like, but then, you know, the journey is very rewarding for a lot of people.
Right.
I mean,
they feel like the video game ended too early for them, almost. If they made winning the Super Bowl the end of their video game, it's like beating the game too quick.
Yeah.
I mean, in some people's perspective, they would say, "Oh, you guys, Fung Bros won the Super Bowl," because we're just the fact that we have this career for this long, and we don't have to quit and do a regular job yet, you know. So I think it's all different perspectives of where you're at, and so I think that's why it's important to still appreciate where you're at, you know.
It's like the Miley,
even though you want to keep going, we want to keep
right,
going.
absolutely. It's like the Miley Cyrus song, like there's always another mountain to climb, but it's all about the climb. But once you get to the top of the mountain, then you see another mountain, right? I remember when I used to own a real estate company, and my dream, I wrote it down on all my like dream boards. If I get to like 100 agents and I get to like 3 offices and I make like, you know, so much money every month, then I made it. Then I'll be so happy, and I'll be validated. And I got there, and I looked around. I was like, nah, 1,000 agents. That's when I'll be happy. I need 1,000 agents. And then I looked around. I was so stressed, you know, just like, how did I get to 1,000 agents when I should have slowed down and just celebrated getting to 100 agents? That was like my goal. But it's weird, like as someone that's very ambitious, like you guys, me, Richie. When you get to this place, we forget to take a breath and celebrate, and then keep on climbing, right? But so that's why now I'm always like, I'm making it. Making it.
Like, I know every time we speak at companies, I don't want to say which companies we spoke at, but we spoke at a lot of big companies. When we are speaking for AAPI month, they're always like, oh man, what are they gonna say? But I'm like, hey, you didn't bring me here to just give you vanilla ice cream.
No, on the pre-call,
I'm serving whatever I'm serving. Like,
we'll do a pre-call. We'll be like, all right, so wait, how hard do you want us to go? And they're like, yeah, or just be you. And then we're like, all right, cool. you already.
You sure you ready for it to be you?
No, you signed the contract.
Because I've been in a multi-billion-dollar company with like high up, maybe not CEO tier, but like near there, where I'm like, yeah, I don't know if people really like Asians. They just like want us to be the good workers that we are. And then you could see people starting to sweat a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't push it too far, but I'm like, hey man, I'm saying what I think is true to this environment.
Here's what I think, and I'm gonna say this, that I don't think we get enough credit for. I think we're underrated in this aspect, is like how honest and intellectually honest we are about the stuff we talk about, and we still manage to pull it off to be brand friendly. We still are brand friendly. We don't really curse, and we don't say too crazy of stuff that like it will like be super controversial, but we are actually pretty honest, but we're also very balanced.
Yeah.
So we're able to word things, and I think that is something that we've built up over time, which I think that, you know, I give ourselves a lot of credit for. I don't know if people recognize that, but I'm like, guys, who else is talking about this kind of stuff? What other Asian channel is talking about these topics so candidly?
Right.
But
without being weird.
Yeah.
I think some people do it, but they're like, I don't, you know, shout out to other people who talk about it.
No, we're like normal guys. You know where we're coming from. You know where we're from. You know what we're into. We're into like cool bro stuff.
Yeah. But
we care about the world, and we're open-minded, and we do our research, and we're intelligent. So like, then we just kind of pull all those things together.
Right. That's awesome. And if you're looking to purchase a home or do a refinance, you gotta hit up my gal, Sheila Lavadia, over at the Loan Factory. She got the best rates and the best service. You can reach her at 425-218-5543, or her email is Sheila, SHEILLA, at SheilaLavadia.com. Hit her up today. I've been using her and her team for 15 years. She never disappoints. If you're in the mood for an elevated Vietnamese food dining experience, check out Anchovies and Salt down there on the shores of Lake Washington. Beautiful views and beautiful vibes. What's going on, guys? My name is Rango Lee.
And I'm Elise Lee.
I'm Mylin Tham.
And we're the Powerhouse team. 3 local realtors that serve the Seattle Puget Sound area. If you need to buy or sell a house, we're your team.
Reach out to us and we'll help you find your dream home in Seattle.
Call us.
We got you.
We got ya.
Got you.
If you're in the mood for delicious Vietnamese cuisine and pho, make sure you hit up Pho Bach. They have 2 locations in Seattle. Also, check out The Boat. They have this fire chicken and rice dish. You'll thank me later. Go get yourself some Somala chili oil, sponsored by the Fung Brothers. It's going to make all your food slapping. 4.7 reviews on Amazon Prime. And also, you can get it at smalasauce.com. SMALASAUCE.com or on Amazon. Go get some now. So it's about growth, right? Like you guys have been doing the food stuff for, I mean, gosh, like 5-7 years now, and you can do it in your sleep, you know, you can make a lot of money out of it and get a lot of views, but it's about growth, you know. It's like, do you want to do it for another 5-10 years and be in the same spot? Like, how much are you growing as an individual in your careers and your business? So then now you're talking about content that you care about, and it's important to you, and it's easier, right? Because you're like, if I like it, and this is important to me, most people should also like it and be relevant to them. So I think, you know, I gave you guys props about not staying in the safe lane. And sometimes people, they're scared to get out of that lane because change is hard for a lot of people, right? You're like, all the self-doubt would come in.
Well, I think it's like sometimes if you question, I feel like every 5 or 6 years that you've spent time in a career, you got to take a step back and think about, do I want to do another 5 years of this?
Yeah.
And it's also like, for us, the question was, what's a video or style of video that we could make 1,000 more videos of?
I got a friend who runs a pretty big, medium-sized media company. He took a lot of political money from one of the political parties in America, like with some pretty good checks. But afterwards, he felt stressed about it because he felt like he was beholden to that narrative and that lens of how they view the world moving forward. Because he's like, I took so much money for him, I need that drip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like stressful if you care about, you know, your brand being balanced and things like that.
Yeah, let's pivot to that. So we're going to talk about now a challenging business moment that both of you guys had, either together or individually, that you guys can name of. As you're talking there about like getting a big check, I remember me also as a business owner, I was running the company. This was my baby. I got it up to the real estate company. I got it up to 115 agents, 3 offices, and I was flying. Like if I would have kept that course, I would have got to 1,000 agents. I would have just really killed it because I was an independent. I didn't have to give money to any corporation or franchise or anything. And then these Century 21 came to me and they were like, "Hey man, we got this fat check. Like we'll accelerate your growth. You know, you sign right here. We'll give you this fat check." And I'm someone from the housing project. I'm like, damn, I never seen that kind of check before. And I'm not gonna tell you how much, but it was a fat, huge check where, man, I thought about it for like a year, and I was like, man, they'll game it up really good about why you should join their corporate team, right? So I thought I was doing the right thing. I signed the check, and then now, you know, there's so much red tape after that. I couldn't do what I was doing because now I got to answer corporate America. The agents didn't really like it because now they're kind of in a corporate system. Now it's like kind of stuffy and more red tape. And it was probably one of my worst business decisions, but I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. I thought I was making the right move. Now I can get to 1,000 agents quickly, you know, because I had that dream to get to 1,000. So that was my challenging life experience that I'm still processing. And then so I sold the company a few years after that, and I'm here doing this. But how about you guys? You guys have like a challenging life or business experience that you like to share with the group that you wasn't sure was gonna make it, but now you're still standing here?
I'll share one, and it's funny on our case of our career. I don't think there was like a wrong turn we actually made, but there was a lot of conversations that we had for up to a year long about stuff, about whether we were going to take a step away from the channel, did we want to do this anymore? And that was already like several years ago. We had those kind of conversations, right? And I think that we never stopped, and then we kind of worked it out. It's like you think about stopping the car, but it's almost like actually just slow it down, kind of restructure a little bit, trying some new things while you're still going forward, and then you still end up again more forward than you were in the past. But if you stop and try to reverse it or get out of the car,
because a lot of the times the one thing that you don't understand is like you're on a hill. sometimes you're on a hill and even staying neutral means you slide back. Because a lot of times I think people oversimplify life. Like everybody knows life is sort of like the game of life, right? Like it's like a car moving along, right, or whatever, and there's like little obstacles or whatever. But actually sometimes life can be on an incline. So that changes the whole dynamics of whether the car can stall out or whether you can stop or not. So I think that that's the one thing that people don't understand. But I would say that for me, you know, I think I used to wish that there was a time where I would have arrived to certain conclusions or maturity levels quicker. But I think even once I got past regretting how long it took me to arrive to a certain mindset or knowledge basis on a topic, I realized that's just my journey. Like not everybody's gonna develop at the same rate. You know, like some people, like you said, like they have parents that are like business moguls, or an uncle who's a business mogul, or whatever, a family friend that takes them underneath their wing and like gives them all the game. Other people, they have to piece together the game from a trillion different experiences and trials and error type project management that they have to go through. You know what I mean? Or some combination of the two. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just realized, man, like everybody's born into such a different life in this quote unquote like game of life.
It's also like kind of got to be the right time when you hear advice, man. You can hear it at a certain point in your life, and if you're rolling on your own thing, you're like, this, get out of here. Well, I don't give a shit about that. And then you later realize you're like, hey, I wish someone like explained that to me. And it's like, you did, but you just weren't at the right time, you know? And I think that's our channel too, is like, man, you could have, when you're hot on YouTube, and I know this sounds like goofy, but when you're hot and rolling on YouTube, they can't tell you nothing, man.
No, somebody will tell you it's not gonna last forever, and you'll say, yeah, it's not gonna last forever.
It's my audience, I got it.
But you still don't feel like it lasts forever.
Like, what are you talking about? I'm getting like 500,000 views a video, blah, and then it's like, still slows down slowly. But I think what's great for us is it never came to a halt.
Yeah.
We're kind of like, this is some like Chinese philosophy. We're like a flowing river. Like we're just like, we went through little narrow pathways, we got squeezed, a little bottleneck, then we just kind of come out and we flow in different ways. We've always kept going, and I think looking back on it, that was a good decision that we never fully stopped for more than like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We never shut our channel down for literally more than a couple weeks. We were always still creating. And I think as long as we were creating, we were tweaking stuff and analyzing and sitting back and being like, all right, that was working, that doesn't work. Okay, what about this? And then, so we didn't stop.
Yeah, thanks for the insight there. Yeah, I'm sure, you know, as you're talking about it now, I'm sure it was very hard for you guys as a brother group to figure out like, yeah, what's the direction with the channel? You know, how are we gonna keep staying relevant? You know, it's kind of like, I think about artists, right? And where they had like 1 or 2 hits, and then the whole time, for the rest of their life, they're trying to capture that or stay like popular, and then they're like slowly fading away. And then, there's a moment where you're like, you know, do I surrender to the fade? And do I go be a normal person, so a civilian? Or do I, you know, try this plan, try that plan to stay moving up the hill so your car doesn't stop, right? So you could kind of get some traction and just fly farther.
Yeah. I think the beautiful thing about content is like you never actually have to quit. Even if you do other things, even if Smala takes off or turns into some other brand, or we have another brand, you can still make content. Like it doesn't have to, when people are like, hey, how much longer are you gonna do YouTube? I'm like, how many more years I got? What do you mean? Like I can still do it, even if it becomes it's a more main thing or a side thing, I can still always do it.
Like when people say, how much longer can you do YouTube? You go, well, how much longer do I have thoughts that I want to share with the world? Or knowledge that I want to share with the world? Or even if the knowledge is pre-existing in these books, I can package it in a way and be the new messenger for a new audience that's never going to read those books.
How much more am I learning? Am I learning every day? Well, then all that knowledge can go into a YouTube video. Because we also know how to deliver messages now at this point, you know?
It's like second nature to you guys.
Yeah. So I think that's just the thing. Is like, I guess it's always been more of it works different for everybody, but it's always been more internal than looking for external things.
All right, so can you guys share a moment in your career, your life that was very hard, life-changing, where you're like, man, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it through this, and where you turn pain to power so the audience knows it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. It wasn't like get rich quick fame overnight. Like there was like some struggle in there. Can you guys just share a moment?
I would guess maybe off the top of my head, 2 strike me.
Okay.
One was we had a heavy capital investment into building up a big team that was like traveling around the world with us, and it didn't really have any like good ROI. You know what I mean? Maybe the way we built the team or the just the delineation wasn't good.
Yeah, our expenses were very high that year.
So it was like taking a team with you to travel around the world, moving to Hong Kong and all that stuff is like, you got to see you got to have a plan to have major returns on that. But you know, the ROI numbers were really bad, return on investment, right?
Yeah.
And so that was one learning lesson. But I would say the one that was more like internal that really sat with me is I remember I had a show on Netflix with Ronnie Cheng, our good friend. It was called Ronnie Cheng Takes Chinatown. And it was like slated for like 13 episodes on Netflix. And they ended up, the pilot ended up coming out, but they didn't want the show. You know what I mean? And I think they probably really didn't want me. I mean, I want to say for sure, but like, I just felt like that was and this was at the time where everybody was doing the Crazy Rich Asians and, you know, there's only so many spots for different Asians in quote unquote, what we call like the mainstream. And I felt like I pretty much was rejected from that.
Sorry. How long ago was that?
Like 2 years ago.
And you guys had to record all 13 episodes?
No. We just did one.
Oh,
we did one. It would cost a lot of money, but then you do that to pitch to the execs.
Yeah, as a pilot.
And the execs, literally, it's just yes or no. Because all the contracts are already written out. It goes 6 and then it goes 13 and then it was like, boom. It was like, you know, maybe we don't like this. And I was like, oh man, this was my chance. I don't know when I'm going to get another chance. Because the previous chance before this was A&E, you know, Broke Bites.
Yeah, Broke Bites.
Yeah. So I was just like, no. And I think just dealing with that was my thing, for me at least.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for opening up about that hard time. I'm sure it was hard because you had so much hope and dreams, and you guys worked your whole career to get to this moment where you're like, all right, this is the moment where we break through to like the mainstream or like whatever, right? You.
And I think it's twofold because like on one hand, you could say, oh, well, I don't know, we weren't like auditioning a bunch or you weren't taking acting classes or whatever. But then there's the other side that's like, hey, everybody in those rooms, they still actually know our name. And we were signed to a big agency at one point after our TV show. It was one of the big dog agencies, right, in Hollywood. So you think like all these things now, whether it's really means what you think it is, or whether it's just kind of a facade, but you do have expectations. And it's normal, it's very human to have these expectations. You're like, oh, well, I know all these people, I'm in the game, they kind of know us, our name gets maybe thrown around at the lower level, but then nothing, it feels like nothing comes from it.
Yeah,
you know?
and a big letdown.
To be fair, and I'm not saying that this is, everybody got to deal with it on their own, but I feel like a lot of YouTubers that were popping 10 years ago that were part of that big California boom, they have had varying levels of like, oh man, I did this in the game, I did this commercial, I did that brand deal, I played background or a fifth lead in this indie movie or major movie or whatever, but then I feel like when I talk with a lot of them wanted some mainstream validation, but it hasn't been there for a lot of them.
I'll share this analogy to describe how it works. It's like, I think when you're working as a YouTuber and you're popping and you're signed to even the big agencies as a digital talent or whatever, you've worked with all the big brands out there, and you have your own fan base and you see million hit video, million subscribers do this, and then you think that for some reason you're also in line for that Hollywood stuff. There's 2 lines, and they're moving. And this is the Hollywood nightclub, and then this is the other nightclub, the digital line. And you're like, oh, I'm moving up in this line. I must be moving up in the queue in this line. It's not. It's separate. It's not related, hardly related, right? So then the guys, we make it up to the front of the digital line, and we're like, okay, all right, do we get to shoot over into this VIP line over here? No, they're taking people that have been waiting in that line because that's the systems that they're from, and they want those people, you know?
Yeah.
People who have been dedicated their life to playing that system, and you know.
But obviously, to be fair, if you dedicate your life to content creation, you will get something out of it. But I know some people who dedicated their life to the other line that still aren't going to get into that club because obviously their number of spots is so much smaller than self-created.
So why is it so important, Ringo?
Oh, we got a big mission out there. There's so much great talent around. We got to put that talent out and showcase it on the world stage. And that's what Blessed Boaters is about. Come with us on the mission. We can't do it alone. We need your support.
Turning pain into power, inspiring and uplifting. Our mission is to do something real big, Ringo.
Real big.
Real big. We are giving away 100 or building 100 homes, free homes, all across Asia. And we cannot do this alone. We need your help. We need you to join the journey with us. If you resonate with this and you want more information about Blessed Boaters, click on the description below or look at the description below. Follow us on all platforms, Instagram, YouTube, and podcasts. Is that right, Ringo?
That's right.
Join us and have a blessed day.